Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tradesman Experience. This is the podcast built by tradesmen for tradesmen. My name is Josh, and across the table is, of course, Gemini and the talent, Mr. Nate Newton. Nate, how are you, sir?
Oh, just keeping a wrangle on the dog, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dog's a fucking lush, man.
She is so lushy. So lushy. She cannot get close enough to you.
No, she would crawl inside of my body if she could.
And she's a little big for a pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, she's 85 pounds.
Yeah. But
solid muscle.
So well behaved.
Yeah. I got to get her to quit rushing the door at the shop, though.
Yeah.
That guardian aspects. I've been working with her with the e-collar.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually did research on it this time. Well, I've never used one before, but dude, people fuck up bad using e-collars. Like they're like, oh, I just shock it when it does something I don't want. And it's like, that's not how e-collars work.
Good
like,
God.
Yeah. So I've been working with her a little bit on that. I still have some more research to do, but you know, that's the problem with the fucking internet. You have 30 fucking opinions on what works and what doesn't, or what you should be doing depending on what breed. And yeah, it's research is confusing these days. You can find anything to confirm what you believe.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Fact doesn't matter anymore.
No, dude, the fact we can't feed ourselves adequately, you know, like whether you think veganism or pescatarian or vegetarian or carnivore or whatever. I mean, I've been eating like shit lately, but I think I'm going to move back into like a carnivore type situation. And it's not because of like some trend. It's because I feel fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my cognitive function goes through the fucking roof. Like my brain just works like it's supposed to, but your brain feeds on fat. And the most nutrient dense fats that exist are animal fats, specifically red meat fats. So I've been cooking everything in tallow, butter, you know, like I've gone like hardcore on it before. Yeah. Like when we were on 75 hard and whatnot. And it seems so counterproductive to eat some greasy ass burger patties, but you know, I lost a shitload of weight and gained a bunch of muscle. So
I think it's important to just figure out what fuels your body.
Mm-hmm.
Because I learned that I cannot eat too many complex carbs, meaning bread, cereal, pasta. Mm-hmm. I can, but if I do it 3 days in a row, I am trash.
Right.
I'm fucking bloated and lethargic, and I don't function well.
Right. Well, and there's a lot of, I was listening to, I want to say maybe it was Sean Baker or Paul Saladino. They're big carnivore advocates, but they were talking about, you know, carnivore versus vegan, whatever. And it's like everybody feels great when they go on to a elimination diet of some sort because you cut out all the poison that is in the fucking stores right now. And so, yeah, if you go to a raw, you know, if you go to whole food, you know, a whole food diet, whether that's vegan, whether it's carnivore, whatever, of course you're going to feel great. You don't have complex carbs. You don't have sugars. Right. You don't have all this shit that they pump into it. Fucking seed oils. If there's one fucking thing I can tell anybody to do for their health, stay the fuck away from seed oils, vegetable oil, canola oil, all that stuff. 90% of it's rancid by the time it ever hits the fucking shelf. Like the stuff is fucking horrible for you. But yeah, I've been trying to pay more attention to dietary shit like that because I'm tired of feeling like shit all the time, you know? And it's the breads and all that crap.
Yeah,
like,
that's what does it for me. And so I have to be very specific about how just regulating that intake. 2 meals back to back of complex carbs, I'm fucking taking a nap.
Right.
I've been back in the gym consistently for about a month now. And so now I'm really focusing on fuel and protein.
Yeah, right.
And that's what my focus is because I'm trying to gain weight.
Yeah,
and
please do.
So I've set some weight targets for the year. And Katie and I were having a conversation, and we started doing the just the calculation of, you know, proteins, calories, just simple. Maintenance calories, bulk
macros,
calories. Yeah, just looking at the macros and stuff. And I'm like, God damn it. I mean, I have to eat close to 4,000 calories to gain weight.
Oh, you poor thing.
And I knew that, and it hasn't changed in fucking 5 years, 6 years. And
yeah. But there's also something to be said about genetic dieting as well, and dieting on a racial scale. Because if you look at, like, let's say white people, we're nomadic tribes through Germania, and we followed herds around, and it was only very sparingly that we got seasonal fruits or vegetables or anything that was edible that we were able to pick up off the ground. We came from frozen tundras. So our microbiome is adjusted, because your microbiome that you have right now is descendant to you from your fucking ancient ancestors. So we do better with high animal fat diets, as to where you go to like Africa, where there's plentiful fruits, there's plentiful vegetables. There was a lot more harvesting going on. They tend to do a lot better on, more vegan type diet. They still need the animal fats and stuff. I think veganism is fucking horrible for you. I really do. I think you have to supplement so much shit in order to be a vegan, that ultra processing all these different items to make sure that you have the nutrients in your body you need, or it's absurd. But if you look at what your, lineage is, that gives you a pretty good indication of what you should be eating. And I'd say just like, look at, your ancient areas that you hail from and what was available around there, and just start with that. It doesn't have to be some crazy over the top, completely restrictive diet. But I mean, I will tell everybody, get the fucking breads and pastas out of your shit though.
Yep. Have it occasionally.
Yeah.
I've had pasta the other night. I don't gorge myself on it, but it's just an occasion. And I think that's the other thing people misunderstand about improving nutrition, is that they think that it has to be an all or nothing. Like they have to give up and live this boring, nutritious lifestyle. Alex Hermosi, one of the things I saw on him recently, and he said, people gripe and complain about having to, diet or change their nutrition. He said, I bet if you look, you eat the same 5 to 7 things all the time anyway. He said, just improve the 5 to 7 things that you're eating. Katie and I talk about all the time. I could fix you everything that I eat, and it's fucking delicious.
Yeah. Dude, salt is surprisingly good for you.
Yeah.
And like white people do underseason the fuck out of their foods. But, good food doesn't have to taste bad.
Right.
I mean, if you know how to cook a fucking ribeye,
oh yeah,
that is great for your nutrition, and it's fucking delicious.
Yeah. I love to watch cooking shows.
God, that's just like part of the course for you.
I know. I know.
Nobody thought you were out there watching American Ninja Warrior, okay?
Another conversation Katie and I had recently is, because I from the outside perspective, I watch a lot of documentaries. The reality is I study them. I'll watch the same episode of Chef's Table a dozen times because I like to study the details. Everything from the cookware to the tools to the seasoning to when they're seasoning. I get wrapped up in study of it.
Yeah.
So
and how to use certain ingredients.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I like to do that because I enjoy cooking and I enjoy trying to create new things with what I have. And I think that's another limiting factor that people look at. It's like, well, I don't have this or I don't have that. If you came to my apartment and looked at my kitchen, you would laugh. It's very primitive.
They wouldn't be able to look at it. You can only fit one person in the fucking thing anyway.
Tiny.
Yeah.
And it's this old electric, top stove, and you just figure that the fuck out. And you make stuff that feels good. It feels good, makes you feel good and tastes good. That's right.
What are you doing with them carrots, Josh?
You put 2 sticks of butter together. No. The salt thing's interesting too, because if you think back to especially the 90s, everybody was like, oh, don't salt your food. Everything's got too much sodium. But if you look at the shit that we intake, it flushes that salt out of our system.
Right.
You can't salt your food enough now.
Yeah, and I mean, people don't understand how critical salt is for hydration, especially for your blood-brain barrier in your brain. Like, you need salts to hydrate your brain properly. And I mean, don't use Morton's or anything like that, like iodized salt or whatever. Dude, and Himalayan pink salt is fucking everywhere now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a great salt to have. I use those Element drinks.
Oh yeah.
And they're just little salt hydration packets. There's no sugar in them. Dude, they fucking taste great.
They're great. They've got magnesium, sodium, and one other thing.
But it'll snap you out of a hangover real fucking quick.
My plan is, and this will be a great segue. My plan is to have a bunch of those at the 2-day event.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
As I don't buy soda.
Right. Yeah. They're like, we're handing out refreshments. And I'm like, I'm not drinking any of that shit.
Don't want a soda.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have water and then a select packs of either like Fit Aids, Elements people can add and have something that's healthy for them
Yeah.
to the
Well,
drink.
Because like when we went to the Tony Robbins event, I mean, that's a very intense 3-day event. And like you go to the food court and it was just crap.
Yeah.
And you're like at this event listening to, these guys talk about self-improvement and all this stuff. And they even went into nutrition. And then you go out there and it's like deep fried burgers and shit and sodas everywhere. And
Yeah.
like, I don't want to fall asleep while I'm here, which is probably what's going to happen if I drink a fucking soda right now.
Yeah. I haven't drank a soda in years.
I mean, I have them every great once in a while, but not my gig.
It's been a few years since I've had one. My body does not like it.
Yeah, I mean, I always regret it afterwards, but yeah. So.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the 2-day event a little bit. It's April 3rd and 4th, but the last day to buy tickets is going to be March 25th.
Okay.
And we've got about 12 spots left. So not that many. But the tickets, the single tickets are $6.99. There's a partner package option you can get 2 tickets for $1,100. And it's in Reno. So you'll travel in on Tuesday. If you buy a ticket, I'll send you the link for the hotel so you can get your hotel room for Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. So fly in Tuesday, fly out whenever the fuck you want because we're in Reno and we're in Lake Tahoe.
Go do some exploring.
Yeah, go check out the scenery.
Dude, in this especially like Carson Valley in the springtime, fucking gorgeous down here.
And all of the mountains have snow on them still. The weather's nice. We've got welders, obviously. Roofing, plumbing, heavy diesel mechanic. We've got so far just a neat variety of tradespeople that are going to be there. And the other thing that is going to happen is you're going to be in a room with like-minded people experiencing similar things that are looking to grow and be successful. So it's going to be an awesome place to come and network. And at the same time, you're going to get the tools and skills that you need to grow your business, your team, and yourself successfully. I've got a gentleman that's going to be presenting all of the financials. Greg Giroux. He owns a company called True Pros. We are partnering on some work coming up in the future. So I invited him this is our first thing together. So I invited him to come be a part of this, introduce his program and his options and coaching. So everybody will get to meet Greg. Everybody's going to get to meet Mr. Nate Newton.
You're welcome.
Everybody's going to get to meet Mr. Matt Hewitt. And it's going to be a neat event.
Yeah, we'll be there.
So come check us out. Get on the website, thetradesmanexperience.com, under the tab Business Builder. Get your ticket. Like I said, we've only got about 12 left, so get that done. Tonight's conversation, we did an episode that launched July 26th of 2020.
So that was like right after we started. That's only like 6 months in.
Yeah, it was only 7
months in. Yeah.
Yeah. Which when I was looking back at some of the material when I was thinking about this topic, which is Chickenshit leadership, I didn't think we did that early on.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah.
Jesus, dog. Did you fucking get it?
Did you get it there?
Pull her collar off or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hang on, I'm going to pull her collar. Come here.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Get your
There you
pants
go.
off.
Kick yourself all you want now.
What surprised me about it being that early was it's such a staple in the vocabulary of not only us, but like our community and everyone that listens to the podcast. So I wanted to revisit that topic because when I saw that it was 3.5 years ago the first question that I asked myself was, what have I learned since then about chicken shit?
So much. So much.
What's been like one of the top things that you've probably grown in the area of growing from chicken shit leadership into effective leadership?
Hard conversations. By large and far, dude. We got to see what it looks like when you don't have hard conversations. We got to see what happened when we just let things go. And it wasn't like we were avoiding something. We were trying to be as tactful as possible. And I think we tiptoed around people's emotions a little too much. And we paid for it big time. Fucking big time. We had a full-fledged mutiny. We've had 100% turnover in our company, and dude, the crew we have now is fucking great. Mm-hmm. It's fucking awesome, and the crew that we had before was fucking great also. And it slowly deteriorated, and we outgrew some people. And I think we could have avoided that if we would have had some hard conversations when we started seeing things change. Mm-hmm. The accountability went up. The type of work got more difficult. The fuck ups were a lot more prevalent and a lot more expensive. And it was all shit that we had kind of let go, and we didn't have the difficult conversations and hold people accountable to certain things, thinking, oh, well, they'll figure it out. That's not how this works. Mm-hmm. You have to lead people. You have to get out in front. You have to call them out when they fuck up. You got to tell them when they're doing a good job. And I think that was somewhere that I lacked a lot, was giving people an attaboy. Just because I was like, oh, well, here's your check. Here's your attaboy. Mm-hmm. Like Matt and I never got attaboys from our employers coming up. And then, we're like, well, why the fuck do you need me to tell you you're doing a good job? Like, do you know you're doing a good job? Mm-hmm. And so, because even that, it can be seen as a difficult conversation. Like because it is awkward and clunky when you start telling people, hey, like, great job on this. Like, it seems like it's fake. Mm-hmm. Right? It seems weird because we never got it. So It's like, but it's a different generation. It's a different workforce. Everything has changed. So whether you think that people need it or not, you need to adapt to what the market needs.
I think something that you need to do, because I do agree with you, if I were going to give you top 3 things that you need to be an effective leader, having hard conversations is going to be in that top 3 somewhere. Mm-hmm. What you have to do, what's important is, I think, you have to define what is a hard conversation for you. Because there are people that are going to just flip out, not have any emotional discipline, and have what they would consider to be hard conversations, but they're really just being a dick. Mm-hmm. It's not productive.
Right.
It's not specific.
You're motherfucking.
You're just motherfucking people. And motherfucking people in conversations, that is chicken shit leadership. That's not having hard conversations, because that's not how conversation works, mm-hmm. right? That's a top-down only or a one-way conversation, mm-hmm. meaning this is what you're not going to get to say anything back, and I'm just going to tell you exactly what I think, feel, and have to say. Mm-hmm. And that's not a hard conversation. Because, again, that's not how conversation works.
Right.
The conversation...
That's talking at somebody.
And if you're going to have those hard conversations, ultimately you're going to start with a question. Mm-hmm. If you don't start with a question, then you're going to start by identifying the situation or identifying the problem and go, hey, this is what I saw. This is what I've witnessed. This is what I'm experiencing. This is the thing. I need you to help me understand why this is happening. And because you've got to navigate those hard conversations through questions, or you're just leading them to answers that you want.
Mm-hmm. And they don't understand why. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in that when you are the leadership or the owner of the business. Like, you have certain outcomes that you need to happen. Mm-hmm. And so you've already figured it out in your head. Like, yeah, no, just fucking do it like this, And it's like, well, that leaves a lot of room for error because they don't understand why they're doing things a certain way. They just got talked at. And so then they just smile and nod, whether they comprehend whatever you said or not. There's been so many times where I've had conversations with people like, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this in this order. And then it doesn't happen that way. And I'm like, why the fuck did it not happen that way? Like, oh, I didn't understand what you were saying. I'm like, I asked you if you understood, and you nodded.
Right.
Yeah.
Part of that, and what's awesome about this conversation you and I are having, is a coaching session that I had today with Steven. Shout out to Steven. He was explaining to me, he just went through this, and he had a huge leadership maturity jump for himself and his company because he had some guys in his company make a decision that conflicted with what they had decided they were going to do. They just were like, what happened is at 1:30, they just decided they were going to be done. And they were scheduled to work till 4. They had worked till 4. And he was immediately, as any of us would be, pissed when he found out that they had clocked out. But the smart thing that he did was he didn't approach it that day because the fucking day was over.
Right.
There was no redo option. And then he created an agenda, points of conversation, and then the next morning he said, I was already at the shop waiting on him. And when they got there, he said, sit down, shut up. We're going to have a conversation about what happened yesterday. And he went through the agenda, and he said one of the things that they shared with me was we've never worked at a place where this is an option. We worked, one guy worked at another place for 10 years, and you weren't allowed to give your opinion or share your idea or have a conversation. It was all chicken shit leadership where it was all top down belittling and so it was really good for him because he had been preaching the concept, the idea, but a situation came up and he got the opportunity to implement what he had been talking about and stand up as a leader and go, this is what happened. This is what's wrong. Why? Help me understand why. And he said, since we've had that conversation, we are even stronger as a team. And we have better conversations now. And if you continue the concept or the idea of just chicken shit leadership where you talk at people, you also have to understand that a reprogramming is necessary. They're just acting the way that they've always been forced to act based on whether their parent upbringing, the school system, or their previous employer, where all three of those usually don't encourage you to think for yourself or give feedback.
Right. And doing things that way is extremely fucking difficult because a lot of the ideas that you're going to hear, especially from your lower end employees, are going to be ideas that revolve around their own self-preservation. It's going to be a lot of ideas of how to do it the easiest way, whether that ends up costing you more equipment or more time or whatever. They're going to look for the easiest way. So you have to be intelligent enough and have enough leadership maturity to guide them away from, we'll call it a dumb idea, right? Where all that's involved in their idea is their own self-preservation. We've had to walk through this a bunch of times over the last 18 months, right? And you want to give them the ability to do things the way that they see fit, right? But they don't understand the schedules. They don't understand the contractors. They don't understand sequencing. They don't understand a lot of these other things. So they're like, well, why the fuck are we doing it like that? It's fucking stupid. You have to guide a conversation to get them to understand that as opposed to just telling them to get them to understand it. And it's fucking hard. It's really fucking hard.
Absolutely. What I like about this conversation right now is learning the fact that if you want to be an effective leader, you must be an effective communicator. It's a non-negotiable to successful leadership.
It's literally your job.
Yes. And, so it's easy to look at the employees and say that they don't listen to me, what you really need to be doing is asking yourself, how do I need to be communicating with them? And to your point, navigating them through what we're going to call a dumb ideas ultimately is you cultivating their thought process, their buy-in, their perspective.
The simplest way to put it is have a conversation that makes it seem like it was their idea.
Sure.
You know, and I'm not saying dismiss everybody's ideas or anything like that. I'm saying you will be confronted with dumb fucking shit. And it will frustrate you. But there are ways to navigate those conversations, and it's not being manipulative. Like, this is leadership. You're influencing people to do certain things. And if you lead them to the conclusion and they get to say it out of their mouth first, it's getting done, right? And it's getting done in the most effective way possible that they have buy-in now.
I think part of the communication aspect of it, though, or navigating that conversation is, let's say that you came to me with this idea. I need to understand the why. So I may ask you, interesting, why do you think that? Why do you think that's going to solve? Why do you think that's the best avenue? Like, ask why questions. And not in a contradicting way where they feel idiot.
Right.
You know, but
watch them talk their way out of it.
Right.
Right? Half the time you don't even have to shoot the fucking idea down. Like you said, just ask the questions and they'll understand the stupidity in what they suggested pretty quick. And go, oh God, yeah, no, that was kind of dumb, wasn't it?
Yeah, we don't own a helicopter. I don't know why we were going to do that. The other side of the why, though, is if you come to me with an idea and I say no, you have to give a why. Otherwise, it's presumed that it's because I said so. But if I say, actually, we tried that on this job X number of years ago, and it did not work.
And that's a great way for you to think that something is fucking stupid because you've already done it yourself, right?
Already done it, yeah.
So you can see why people might come to that fucking conclusion.
Oh, yeah, I did think. I did used to think like that,
Right.
and then experience taught me differently. Again, the concept on the communication part is you have to learn how to listen as a leader, as an effective leader. Chicken shit leaders don't listen at all to ideas, solutions, problems. They just want to talk at people because they're trying to reach a metric. So you definitely have to learn the communication aspect of things. The other is managing personalities and behaviors. Unresolved disagreement in a company is very cancerous to a culture. Chicken shit leaders are going to avoid conflict or perception of conflict, even if they're not involved. So learning the fact that if there is any type of unresolved disagreement in your team, it's your responsibility to solve that problem.
Yeah. You've got to be the one out in front, you know, and you can see it really fucking easily when you're starting to see friction. And that was one of those situations that it took a lot of getting beat up to figure out how to see when things were going wrong within your ranks, when people were starting to rub each other the wrong way, and get in front of that and either one, end up terminating somebody, or for two, finding a way to get this resolved, and not just like a yes boss kind of thing. Like no, you fucking assholes are going to sit down and you're going to figure each other the fuck out, and we're not leaving until you do. And that's it's hard to see it. It's hard to initiate it because you're like, well, they're not bitching at each other right now. I don't want to stir anything up. And it's like, trust me, it gets so much worse.
Yeah,
it gets so much worse.
Well, quantifying that is difficult. As to when do you need to get involved. And that's a leadership maturity, leadership experience thing. Because you don't want to nitpick every little thing. They need to take care of shit themselves.
Yep.
That's why I use the term unresolved. If you have a disagreement, if I need to get involved, fine, tell me. If not, figure it out. Unresolved disagreement, if I have something that's lingering or going on and I see that it's continuing to create friction, then I'm going to involve myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have the conversation like you just described. So there is a balance to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because someone's having a bad day, does that give them the right to be a dick to everybody? No, 100% not.
Can we understand it?
Right.
Yeah, but that you get a day every here and there, not a every Monday morning you're a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, 100%. So I think learning how to gauge that and look at those behaviors, recognize that in your team, which also means that you kind of need to be close to your team.
That's somewhere that I've struggled being in the position I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I need to spend more, and I've been working on it, spending more time like out in the shop, chopping it up with people, or stopping on their lunch breaks or smoke breaks or whatever. Like go out and chop it up with them a little bit, but because that also gave us a lot of insight with people that were becoming problematic, that were rubbing a bunch of different people's feathers the wrong way, and you could start to see this pattern emerge.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, okay, well, that person's just done, because we have this rule. If the team doesn't like you, you won't fucking be here. And the team doesn't want to rat people out and be the reason somebody gets fired. I would much rather see the pattern of something like that going on and go handle that before somebody has to come rat somebody out. Because we've done it where they've had to come rat people out before, and it's like, team said they don't want you here.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just like, hey, I've noticed that you don't get along with pretty much anybody here, other than, brief moments now and again. And it's usually when you're fucking around and not doing actual work. So I think it's time we just separate, and it's, I still fucking loathe letting people go, but I will do it so much more quickly now. Mm-hmm. I will not let and Matt and I are on the same page. We will not let toxicity back into this company.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it was one of the directions that I wanted to go with being a leader. Also, you have to recognize when you've got to coach people up and you got to coach people out. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to fall too far one direction.
You saw the shit we went through with a couple of different people where we spent a tremendous amount of time trying to coach them up, and they didn't want to be coached up.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I
Shut
was
up, Josh.
Sitting in the background like months going, please fire him, and I always appreciated the fact that you guys err on the side of coaching up. You just got to make sure that you're not going to go too far in the other direction. Mm-hmm. Because something that can happen is you bring people on, if you go through the interview process and hiring process and onboarding process and agreement process correctly, okay, that's a big fucking prerequisite, because it sets the pace for everything that follows. Mm-hmm. You've got to make sure that when those people plateau, that you just don't brand them as not being good enough anymore, or not doing their job well enough, or not performing at the level. Those are the best opportunities to coach people up. Mm-hmm. And sometimes coaching those people up is putting them in a different position. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality of it. You don't know what people's operational capacity is and leadership capacity is until they're in it. Mm-hmm. So there is a balance. I think the best metric to use in that is two metrics, is attitude and performance. So you've got to know what those metrics mean in your company, but I think it's really easy to brand people with something that says they're not performing anymore, we just need to get rid of them. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, coaching people up is not the same as providing opportunity. Mm-hmm. It's not the same thing.
Right.
You can give me all the fucking opportunity in the world, but if you're not going to coach me up to get in a position to seize that opportunity or identify where I best fit in the company, then I'm going to fail. Mm-hmm. And that result is me leaving.
It's happened enough with us,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think that's a brilliant way to put that, is that we want to look at coaching as responsibility. right? And that just giving people responsibility that they'll figure it the fuck out. I'll tell you right now, they do not. If you have to put responsibility in front of them to get them to do better, it's not going to work. I've never seen that work.
No. So you're right, because what you're doing is you're generalizing the entire culture with an elite percentage of people that are self-starters. And that metric doesn't work. And that's why I said, like, giving people opportunity and responsibility is not the same thing as coaching them up.
Right. Yeah, and we learned that one the hard way more than once. And because it looks different on everybody. Like, as you learn people and you learn leadership, and you're like, oh, well, if I do this, I get this result. Well, with that person, you do. With this person,
that's right,
not so much. And that it's a hard, because you're learning that lesson every single fucking time you do it, right? And but you can start to see the corrections that you need to make as you're going through your interactions with these people, the way you communicate with them, find out what sticks, what doesn't. You know, there is no end-all, be-all method for this.
Right.
You know, this is a on-the-fly type thing.
It is. I think there are some fundamentals to it. Leadership equity being one of the big ones. So there's a book on the shelf behind you. It's the blue book in the middle. It's the 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell. That was the first book that I ever read that taught me anything about leadership equity. So everyone listening, 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell, you need to go listen to it, because he guides you through how to build those levels, and also recognize, like I talk about with leadership equity, not everyone is going to be at the same level.
Well, and the more this stuff goes on, it becomes so much easier to pick out who is a self-starter, who is a catalyst, who is leadership. And you got to play to those strengths, you know, and I think we all want to make everything fair and even and everybody gets a shot. Fuck that. Like,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I completely agree.
You're going to waste so much time with people that don't, for not only one are they not capable, but they don't deserve it either. And because there is such a thing as being deserving of positions and opportunities. There's some people that just fucking outperform, and those people deserve to get those opportunities, right? And I'm sorry if that hurts your little sensitive fucking feelings. And you don't have feelings. I know they don't hurt yours.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
Yeah. No, but for the listeners, I'm sorry if that hurts your fucking feelings, but this is the way of the world. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and you either do or you fucking don't. And there are ways to get people coached up to be a doer, but quit wasting your time when they don't. You know, there is as much as there's leadership equity, there's employee equity also.
Completely agree.
You know, and fucking, there's only so much you can dump into somebody before it's just not worth the juice ain't worth the squeeze anymore.
Right.
You know?
Which is why I listed out all of the prerequisites, right? If you're going to go down this path, you have to have that foundation laid of, again, the interview process and the hiring process and the onboarding process, growth plans, clearly defined RREs. I mean, God damn it, all of that stuff has to be in place, or you're navigating your chicken shit leadership ability through emotion only. And that's not a good lens for leadership.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't be an adequate tool to add, but if you don't have the infrastructure and, again, the leadership foundation in your company, everything is based on how you fucking feel that day. And we all know managers. We all know chicken shit leaders that do exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, because I know I've been guilty of it. You know, we've been in this shit for, you know, however long. And there's been times where I have taken it out on team members. You know, I'm so fucking frustrated and fed up with just this chain reaction of shit that has happened throughout the day. And somebody just caught me on that one where I snapped. Is that okay for me to do? No. Do I try to avoid everything I can to not do that? Absolutely. But everybody's got a fucking breaking point, you know? And just, I'm saying this because you need to understand that you are human.
Yeah, I'm laughing because it's fucking real.
Right. And this is what happens. And some days, and it's, the worst part is is that the couple of times that I've done it, it's been to the person that deserved it the least, you know.
Usually,
and I'm because it's one of those because in me it's like you too, you're fucking up also. You're the one I could count on, and now you're fucking up, and it is so difficult to bite your tongue and extract yourself. But dude, I mean, when you're the ones, you know, when Matt and I are just getting fucking pummeled from just dumb shit all day, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, like what is going on here? And then you snap on the wrong person and you feel like shit afterwards. You know, it's nothing you're fucking proud of that you lose your temper, but it's bound to happen, you know? So I'm saying, give yourself a little grace here, you know?
I agree. And if it doesn't happen often, your team will forgive you.
Right.
Because you're going to have a conversation following that incident, obviously. But if that's part of expected behavior, then you're not a leader.
Right.
They're just expecting it. They know that when there's a mistake, that you are going to take it out on them. And your behavior is going to dictate everything about the company. I was in my shop one day, and we're going to get into leadership behavior here in a minute, but I was having, for whatever reason, I was just in a shit mood that morning. And that I was probably the first one or one of the first ones at the shop. I'm at the plans table and I'm standing there, and Chad, and I remember this fucking vividly. Chad was always like high level behavior, attitude, performer. Like when it come to, again, attitude performance, like he was one of my top guys. He could influence you. It was intoxicating, you know? And guys had started to roll in. Shit was moving around. I'm having a bad fucking day. I'm staring at, I think, a set of plans. And he's like, "Hey man, what's up? Good morning." And I said something that clearly reflected the mood that I was in. And in that instant, I noticed that it completely affected his mood. And then I recognized that I had affected everyone's mood. I had set the bar for the culture that day because I was in a shitty mood. And it brought everyone down to my level. When you understand the effectiveness that you have as a leader, you have to be mindful. I'm not saying that you have to be delusional and optimistic all the time. What I am saying, to your point, is you've got to be careful not to take your frustrations out on people that it's not involved.
Yeah.
And I remember how it was one of a couple key pivotal moments for me where I really learned the emotional equity side of leadership, and how one simple thing that I did as the leader, as the top person, how it negatively and immediately affected the attitude, the performance, the buy-in, and everything of my team. And that's a hard lesson. And I don't think you can learn it until you experience it.
Nope.
That story is not going to emotionally relate to anyone if they've never done that before.
Yeah, and like just to see the piss run out of somebody's face when they, you know, when you holler at them like that and they didn't deserve it, and it's like, that one sits. It sits with you, you know?
Sure does. That's why I said I remember it vividly, where he was just, his whole posture changed.
Yeah.
And now he's just having a bad day because I'm having a bad day. Terrible.
Yeah, that works out really well for everybody.
Because now they're going to have a bad day to my client, and the client's going to have a bad day.
And then you're going to have an even worse day the next day once you have to deal with that client.
Yeah.
Perpetual cycle.
It really is.
It's like domestic violence.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. So learning, you know, the impact that you have as a leader, and that the negativity carries further than the positivity.
Dude, and I was hoping you're going to bring that point up. That is real easy to fuck everyone's day up, and it's really hard to bring everybody's day up to where you want it to be. The positivity takes a lot longer to hit than the negativity does.
Yep.
And I still can't figure out why we work that way, but we do.
Yeah, I don't either.
It does. I don't know how we can turn on a dime to go in a downward spiral, but very rarely do we turn on a dime to go head in an upward trajectory.
For whatever reason, we're naturally drawn to negativity.
Mm-hmm. It's a defense mechanism.
It must be.
Mm-hmm.
It's destructive.
Yeah.
It's self-destructive.
Mm-hmm.
I know I try to stay away from it, which I'm going to do a GSD on toxic traits, and I'm going to talk about my own, but, I'm not saying I deal with it correctly, but I deal with it correctly for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean, I'm glad we brought this topic back up because we got, we've been doing this for 4 years now.
It's our fifth season, yeah.
4 season. So, and there's been so much leadership maturity, and I like to think of what my mindset was when we first started this thing, however long ago, and how much I've learned, and the maturity that comes along with it was unrealized until the last 4 months. And it's like, okay, maybe we do know what we're talking about, and it just, a lot of the shit that we've been through lately just solidifies the points that we talk about. And I can tell you exactly where we fucked up at every fucking step along the way, right? I can tell you where we lost our equity with our crews. I can tell you where we lost equity with a couple of our clients. I can tell you where we got into bed in places when we shouldn't have, and not trusting my fucking instincts on stuff. And it's like, it's a whole other creature now. I don't look at this business the same way I did when we were crushing it and everything was fine. Like, I look at it so much more delicately now. And you can get on a hot streak and everything can be great, and then just shit goes sideways, and you have to unfuck your own mind so much and be the leader that people need, not the one that they want. You need to be the leader that they need. That means having difficult conversations. That means holding people accountable. That means you showing up for your teams and realizing that they're not going to do the same thing for you. And it's not a capability thing or anything like that. It's that they're not invested in this the way that you are. So you have to realize that they're not going to step up the same way you will.
They're not going to do, I think that's a really brilliant point. They're not going to do the same thing you're going to do at the same level because they're not the fucking leader.
Right.
If you make a decision to be that leader, you're making a decision to be surrounded by people and feel alone.
Yeah. That is, that's a really good way to put that. Yeah, that's brilliant.
And it's
you're constantly surrounded by people and you're alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And why I think, leadership is, again, one of the most difficult things you'll ever do because you're the one that has to go. You're the one that is going to make the sacrifices, the investments, the mistakes, and everything that you do is 10x of anything that your team can do. It's so important that you constantly have the sense of mindfulness, the sense of awareness of the leader. You've got to have your finger on the pulse of the company. You've got to be monitoring the culture, and you have to be mindful of yourself at the same time. And then you've got to do your job.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot, and it's never perfect. And I've said on here multiple times, I feel like I probably glorify the leadership position that I had with my company and the culture that we had built, because the reality is, I don't know that there was a day that went by that there wasn't a problem.
Yeah. That's what businesses are. They're just a fucking problem.
The only days that I had in business that weren't a problem is when I was on vacation and had no connection to my company or team. That was the only days.
Yeah. That was the days you didn't have a problem.
That's what I said.
Yeah, okay. Right.
That's what I said. Yeah. That's why I said I didn't have a problem.
Right.
The other point that I want to make on chicken shit leadership is looking at behavior, right? Because people don't believe what you say, they believe what they see. And I think there's a really fine balance of leadership behavior that can complement or compromise the equity that you have. If I'm putting my team in a position to do things that I don't want to do they understand why? If I've got my team working, so our installers worked 4/10s. One crew had Friday off, one crew had Monday off, and so we had 3 days of overlap. I didn't work the same shift that they worked, but they understood it. If I left at 3:30 and they worked till 5:30, they don't need to be pissed off at me because there's clarity. They've got to understand what my behavior is. The other, and again, this is what I mean by really fine balance, is it's your company. No one's ever going to work harder in it than you do. And no one's going to be more invested in it than you are. But it's your behavior that dictates their behavior. And again, this was something that I learned the very stupid, dumb, difficult way, which is how I learn things, through the face of a sledgehammer, is, when I started to get relaxed, my team started getting relaxed. Because, now this is the point that I want to make. It wasn't because I was the owner. It was because I was the leader. Okay? I need people to understand the difference. Your fucking ownership doesn't make you a leader. But because I was the leader, I set the pace for the behavior in the company. If I were the owner and I had a leader in my company, they're going to set the pace for the operation of the company, for the leadership in the company. If I want to own it and I'm going to work, come in late, leave early, fuck around while I'm there, as long as everybody knows that's my role and I'm not the leader,
right?
Fine. No one gives a fuck if I'm there or not.
Yeah, you got to set tempo.
You do have to set tempo, and that's why I said, so if you choose to be the leader, you've got to be there. You've got to show up for battle. You've got to be prepared. You've got to be organized. Any expectation that you have of your team, you have to exemplify that in all things that you do. Doesn't mean that you have to be the best at it. Okay, this is another piece that people have to understand. You don't have to be perfect.
Right.
No one would follow you if you were. You just have to work to build the standard that you're expecting of them. And when you make mistakes, not if, when you slip and fall, when you make mistakes, when your behavior changes, if you've got that leadership equity and you've instilled that behavior in your team, and I've been there too, they're the ones to pick you up.
Yeah.
They're the ones to lift you back up and go, hey, we need you to lead us. We need you in this position. And again, I got to experience that during the downfall of my company because it was my team that kept me sane,
right?
That kept me through that. So that's why I want people to understand, if you're going to assume the leadership role, you got to fucking be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and make the most out of the time that you are there too, and whether that is leading by, setting the example or just communicating with people. And not everything has to be oh, you did this amazing thing, or, oh, you did this really stupid fucking, talk to them like they're fucking humans, you know? And I think so many people want to have this separation between leadership and team. And it's like, you're all on the same fucking side. You're all on the same team, and you need to realize that you're an integral part of that, and that you need to show people that you're human, whether that's you fucking up or whether it's you cracking jokes or that's you asking about their fucking family. Why are they here? Why are you showing up every day to this place? Because I want to take care of my family. Ask them about that shit.
Yeah.
Make sure you're personable, and I think I got, before our mutiny kind of kicked in, I think I got a little robotic with people. I treated them like they were there to do a job, which they are, but it's so much more than that, and it takes fucking that up to see that, I think, too, that they're not just expendable items, they're not inanimate objects, and we've done a lot for everybody that's worked for us, whether that's throwing fundraisers for them or financing trucks for them or, whatever the fuck it is that has to be done. We try to take care of people at every corner, but that's not enough either. You know, you can't lean on the things that you've done for them to expect certain behaviors out of them.
You can't buy loyalty or equity.
Yep. And, you know, that's a frustrating thing when it's like, dude, we fucking did this shit for you and this is what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And it's...
That's a really interesting fact, because if you're keeping score, you're not leading.
Yep.
And not to say that you don't need to, you know, if you borrow someone money, you need to
get the
make
money
sure
back.
you get the money back, right? You're going to measure. That's not what I'm talking about. If it comes down to where they fuck up in your internal responses after everything we did for you, it's like, then why were you doing it?
Yeah, that's manipulation.
Yep. Again, you can't buy loyalty or equity. Mm-hmm. Leadership's fucking hard.
It is. It is.
So, you know, everything that you and I are talking about, multiply it by 10, cry yourself to sleep, and go broke, and you might have an idea of what it fucking feels like.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, dude. You know, like, you do go to the ends of earth for some of these people, and they just flat out fuck you in the end. Mm-hmm. You know, and you can't let that jade who you are. And it's like, did you do that because you believed in that person, or did you do it for some selfish reason that you were trying to get some result out of them? If you believed in that person and it didn't work out, shit, better luck next time, man. Mm-hmm. You know, but bygones be bygones. You know, you got to let it go.
Again, where are you spending that energy? You know, if you're spending that energy on what happened, as opposed to investing that energy in what you have and what you can have. Again, one of the analogies I use is when you have a really shitty girlfriend and you take it out on the next girlfriend who's amazing.
Yeah, that generational trauma thing, or the, you know, because you see that happen over and over again, where, you know, some dude gets his heart broken and he just treats every woman like that after shit, you know? Yeah. And it's like, are you fucking dumb?
Right. But that's what a lot of managers do.
Yeah.
You know, that chicken shit leadership, they put themselves on a loop because this is how they were treated. So this is how I'm going to treat everybody else. Mm-hmm.
I will never be vulnerable again.
Right.
Kind of looking a little vulnerable right now.
You're adorkable when you're mad. Right. But anyway, I wanted to revisit that conversation. We always involve it in conversations, but we haven't jumped into the chicken shit leadership aspect again in 3.5 years. And I was like,
fuck,
where'd the time go? I really thought I'd be farther along by now. You too?
Yeah.
You too?
After the ass whooping we've just gotten over the last 6 months. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm in the middle of the Andy Frisella, Ed Milet episode that on Ed Milet's show.
Dude, it was really fucking good to hear some shit come out of their mouths when it came to business leadership. You know,
the time. So I just got past the part. I'm maybe a third of the way through it, where Andy Frisella is talking about how much money he made from his company in the first decade, and he slept at the office for the better part of 3 years.
Yeah.
But his collective income for 10 years was $58,000.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay. So there is an ROI to this sacrificial reinvestment.
Well, and just to like even hear Andy talk about like, hey, if I had to go back and do it again, would I? He's like, probably not, knowing what I know now. You know, like, I don't think I would start up a company. I don't think I would go through all that shit for this. But, you know, he puts it, I think that's the most eloquent I've heard Andy Frisella be. I don't know if it's because he's on
Ed
Milet's podcast.
Yeah.
But I think that there was some real heartfelt shit there on sacrifice and reward and, you know, just the trudging through the shit, you know, and I'll discourage most people from starting a business. I really will. And it's solely because you for one, you probably can't handle it. And for two, you're not going to like it. And, you know, I know last week's episode, we talked about, you know, what that looks like, but the leadership, I mean, every business leadership is an integral part. That's one fucking part.
Mm-hmm.
That's one fucking part, and it'll eat your fucking lunch.
Yeah.
You know? Then you get into dealing with fucking clients and contracts, insurance, lawyers, people fucking you over out of whatever, you know? And then you have to deal with all that plus what we just talked about here tonight.
Yeah. It's why you cannot do it alone.
Yeah.
You're psychotic.
Well, it's a Nick Vazades, because I posted one of those clips, and Nick Vazades was like, I do it alone. And I'm like, shut up, Nick, you're freaking nature. Like, that's, but he's got his dad.
I was going to say, but he, you know, he doesn't. And he's even said that on here.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, I have people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality of it, is you fucking have to have people.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying the conversation with them so far.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think because Andy's on Ed's show.
Right.
He's articulating himself a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not all like political fire and brimstone shit.
No, it's not. And I think they bring up a really good point, because Ed was talking about he was stocking shelves at night, you know, doing a job to, you know, to have his business. And he was talking about that he was doing a job. You and Matt were pipelining to start this business. Mm-hmm. I just quit a second job, you know, for this. It's like,
right.
And to hear those guys say that they went down a similar path, kind of the same thing that I see when I work with my clients. I didn't feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, shit, this is part of the hard work equation, the whatever it takes equation to get done, you know, what you need to get done. But another point that I really liked is how long it really takes to build a successful business. They were talking, you know, minimum 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Andy wasn't even successful in 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
I think if you take out the factor of cash flow problems that affect businesses closing, I think people give up too soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can see how easy it is.
Absolutely. I mean, especially when you're getting down to your last pennies and when your team's on, you know, well, I mean, we were in such a bad financial position because I bid a job very poorly. Mm-hmm. We were in a bad financial position. Our fucking whole team quit. You know, like,
you guys weren't only in a bad financial position. You were in a bad operational position also, because all of the welding machines left too.
Yeah, right. I mean, we were getting fucked from every different direction and no lube on any of it, you know? And so, but it was one of those things that, like, I'm like, you know, I knew I wasn't. I knew we weren't throwing in the towel, but I remember standing in the office and, like, I got up from the plans table and I, like, turned around and I was just like, I was just dwelling on, you know, one of the guys that just quit. And I was like, I can see why people give up.
Definitely.
I can see why, you know. But, I mean, for me, the wheels got to come off. Things got to be on fucking fire. And, you know, that's just the kind. I've never been able to walk away from anything.
Right.
I just can't.
Yeah. My give up line was I didn't want to file bankruptcy.
That's a pretty good give up line. Yeah.
For me, because my partner wanted to fucking steal everything. Bankruptcy because the business died was one thing. That would be a little different metric for me.
Right.
To file bankrupt because my partner was fucking stealing everything, I wasn't willing to go there.
Yeah.
And that's why I walked away. But yeah, it's I can see why, but again, I think people give up too early. I think that, again, they talked about it. Social media creates this perception that you can build a successful business in 12 months, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. With fucking Amazon drop shipping. Please, you guys, for the love of God, do not fall for these fucking scams out there. Like, there was one page I started following that was signing up for all these scam things just to try them out to see if something actually worked on all of them. None of them. They were all complete pyramid schemes. You know, there's no way to get into business and make money with having zero upfront capital. There's no fucking way. It's all snake oil shit.
Yeah. You know what, and Brad Lee was talking about this, probably the lowest startup business that you can have is consulting.
Yeah, but I mean, the amount of time you have invested in it.
Right. So now you put a dollar or a monetary value on the expertise. decades.
Yeah, right.
So to be an expert, decades.
And expert's such a loose term.
I know.
Also, it's when people are like, "Oh, I'm an expert in this," I'm like, "You're a fucking idiot." Like, yeah, are you? I would say you are a student of.
Right.
But the moment you think you have anything mastered, the world changes real fucking quick, especially these days. You know,
Yep.
the internet really kicks shit into overdrive, and by the time you got it figured out, somebody else has already reinvented it.
Yeah. What I've learned with the concept of being an expert is usually I'm a medium-sized fish in a small pond. And if you put me in a bigger pond, I'm now
Small
food.
fish. Yeah, right.
I'm the food
Rather
now.
stringy.
Yeah. Is that a carp?
Yeah.
A lot of rib bone on that thing. So, but anyway, let's get out of here.
Yep.
Jimmy, you ready to go? All right. You can find Nate on Instagram at Nate Newton 87. I am on Instagram at The Tradesman Experience. Email is thetradesmanexperience@gmail.com. Website's thetradesmanexperience.com. And the YouTube channel, if you want to see our faces, is The Tradesman Experience.
Or
Thank
you could just show up to the event.
You could show up to the event, April 3rd and 4th, Reno. Go get your tickets.
How many
We'll
of you
see
people
there.
are actually still listening by this point, though?
God,
Yeah,
most of them
yeah,
are
they're all
already listening to somebody else. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Get out there, get shit done. Be proud of me, tradesman. See ya.